Hey, it's Mark Marin from WTF here to let you know that this podcast is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. And I'm sure the reason you're listening to this podcast right now is because you chose it. Well, choose Progressive's Name Your Price tool, and you could find insurance options that fit your budget, so you can pick the best one for your situation. Who doesn't like choice? Try it at Progressive.com. And now, some legal info. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law. Not available in all states.
Hey, I'm Ryan Reynolds. Recently, I asked Mint Mobile's legal team if big wireless companies are allowed to raise prices due to inflation. They said yes. And then when I asked if raising prices technically violates those onerous two-year contracts, they said, "What the f*** are you talking about, you insane Hollywood ass?" So to recap, we're cutting the price of Mint Unlimited from $30 a month to just $15 a month. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes. See details.
Hi guys, it's Tony here. Quick note, I just finished recording and editing the show and forgot I mentioned this is the second part of a two-part series about Australian metal at the end of the year of 2024. It is a long one. I really couldn't do justice in under an hour. Please do enjoy the show. If it's too long, let me know, or skip through the first bit. If you don't already know much about the band, you might just want to listen about the album. It's up to you. Thanks for listening. I'll hand over to Tony again. Thanks for listening. Bye for now. Here you go, Tony. Guys, welcome to this week's episode of Heavy Metal Tones with me, your podcast host, Tony Evans. It's that time of week again, right? Crashing and careering into the end of the year and the new year, and closely running into my fourth year next year, which is, it's quite crazy how long this journey has taken, really. Firstly, before we crack on with this week's episode, I want to do a little bit of housework. Firstly, we can come to, and if you'd like to, for a present for someone or for yourself, you can sign up to Patreon at $2 Australian dollars a month, which is not that much. You get an ad-free listen, and you will get some, as of next year, I am looking to do extra episodes to go aside, depending on time and workload, so you get extra bits and pieces. It's patreon.com/heavy metal tones. That's patreon.com/heavy metal tones, and you'll be helping me out big time. Secondly, please do like and subscribe to the show if you like what you're listening to. Swipe up on Spotify if you're on that app and leave me a little review. I will respond to it. 5 stars is good, or any stars is good, really, because it makes me visible to other people. Please do that. Same with YouTube and all other of the wonderful streaming devices of which you listen to my lovely mellifluous voice on. So, that out of the way, we're going to start with saying a big thank you, and a big thank you from all of us across this musical world of ours, the family we all are here, because of 344 people of you, I'm their number one podcast, which I think is, I feel very, very privileged for. But everyone that listens, everyone that's got any kind of sense would have read the news this week, that Nico McBrain is retiring from touring with the band, with Iron Maiden. Now, he is the oldest member of the band. Drumming is quite an intensive activity. He has had some medical issues recently. He's only retiring from touring, I believe. I believe that he is hasn't said he's not going to record with the band. He's just not going to tour with the band. His replacement is Simon Dawson. That's the drummer from British Lions, the drummer behind Steve Harris for almost 10 years now, I believe. So it's quite amazing how they've managed to get someone. And honestly, you need someone who can read Harris, who can play with Harris, along with Harris. I mean, Nico would know Harris's moves intimately, if you know what I mean. And so it's good not just to hire someone who says, "Oh yeah, I love Iron Maiden. I'll come along. I'm competent." and they would be competent, but they wouldn't have better sticking along with Harris. Steve Harris is a genius, let's be honest. So for that drummer to take up the sticks that Nico's put down, and to then carry on with some, new stuff, it is quite amazing. So I wish him all the best in the future, Simon. And I wish that Nico, all his other side projects like his drum club and stuff, that he has time to enjoy a little bit more life. I know he lives in America now, and I know he's found he's quite religious, so it's good for him to then spend time with his family and his faith. I'm really happy for him. Now, on to the show. So, I interviewed Stu Marshall for Metal Ruse a little while ago. It's only just gone up onto the YouTube channel as of yesterday, I believe. So I will put the link into the show notes below, so you can watch it as well, if you like. You'll probably find out a lot more from that interview, from the horse's mouth, as they say, than from me. But it was a real privilege, because I have watched Stu and his projects with one of my, like, quite closely over the last few years. And this particular project, his Empires of Eden, that's his major project. And the album we're going to talk about is Guardian of Time. Now, this one is actually called Stu Marshall Empires of Eden. It used to just be Empires of Eden, but Stu was saying that he's done a lot more on this album, so he felt like he should put his name on it. And I think that's a very good thing. Now, before we move on to Empires of Eden, which is an amazing project, we're going to talk about a quick rundown of Stu's musical history. Now, Stu will probably listen to this, and if I've got anything wrong, Stewie, it's because I took it from Wikipedia, because it's much harder to find information these days that's really accurate. So I apologize if I have anything wrong here. So basically, he started in a Sydney band called Dungeon. And they formed in 1989, and they finished in 2005. They're actually from Broken Hill, here in Australia. So anyone those listening outside Australia won't know this, but Broken Hill is one of the most remote towns in Australia. I went there on a holiday. My wife has always wanted to go to Broken Hill, because she used to sit on the map. We're living in Sydney and in Canberra. You go and it would say Broken Hill is 36 degrees or whatever it is. So she goes, "Oh, let's just go to Broken Hill." So we took a 2-week drive, and we went to Broken Hill, and it was one of the most remote and far away places I've ever been, actually, weirdly, but so beautiful, so stunning is the red earth and the endless sky, and it's just such a lovely place. And I had the craziest tour around the city with an old man on a bus that was just like, you have to be there to believe it. It was hilarious, but it was brilliant. It also got a really nice train museum, and I'm a train nut, so it was really nice. But that aside, so he's from Broken Hill. He may not be from Broken Hill, but the band is from Broken Hill. And he joined in 2001, so a few years after the band had joined, and they were considered for a long time one of Australia's premier metal bands, Dungeon. I always liked the sound that they made, right from the beginning, right to the end. He made his debut live with them for Metal for the Brain here in Canberra in 2001, and I was at that gig. I don't recall, it was 23 years ago, God, and I don't recall too much of Dungeon, but I do remember seeing them, and it was not because they weren't memorable, it was because there was a lot going on, and I'd consumed a lot of, as they call it over here, the amber nectar, so I don't remember too much of it. But it wasn't, that was a premier metal festival in Australia for a long time, and for them to play here was, pretty amazing, I feel. And then he played on several albums, One Step Beyond, Resurrection, and on the live DVD filmed in Japan, Under the Rising Sun. He's a very, very, very talented guitarist. If you watch the video when I had with him, you'll see him with all his guitars in the background, and I do nerd out, and I did say I probably need a beer because he showed me his Gibson afterwards, and I like, it sounds like a euphemism, but it's not. And I was like, oh God, yeah, that's fantastic. So, this is just a compressed history of Stu Marshall. Of course, much more complicated than I'm going to put across here. But in late 2005, he founded Pain Division with the original drummer Tim Yatras on drums from Dungeon, and they first toured under the name of 20 Gram. They changed the name from Pain Division to 20 Grams or Gram, and they actually, I saw them again. This is so crazy, such serendipity. But I saw them with Black Label Society, supporting Black Label Society, but I didn't put the two and two together because, when it comes to support bands, you're there to see the main band, which is in Sydney, in 2006. And I was there really just to wonder at the pyrotechnics of Zakk Wylde, of course, as we all were. And then I saw him again at Soundwave, and it was another crazy time. They referred back after that back to the name, back to Pain Division, which I think is a good move. I'm not sure. 20 Gram, I'm not quite sure what that is. I should ask Stu one day. I'm sure someone will know out there. They signed to a Sydney label called Riot! From Wollongong, and they released their first self-titled album in October 2007. It showed some real good promise, and I actually really like this particular album. I think that's another episode for that one, right? He also did a solo album called Altered States. I'd wondered if that's named after the movie, the Ken Russell movie. It wasn't originally a Ken Russell movie. I think it was, I'm not sure who started it, but he came in to finish it. It's a classic 80s psycho space horror kind of, sort of do with changing your, lying in stasis tanks and regressing back to cavemen and all that kind of thing. It's a really good movie, if that's the one I'm remembering. I'm sure that's what it is. Then he took a hiatus, working with bands such as Deaf Dealer, featuring Ross the Boss. Now, those don't know who Ross the Boss is, but Ross Freeman, founding member of the punk band The Dictators and Man of War. So really, that was in 2010. That's big. That's a big name to be playing with, and it's where it starts here, because then he formed a project. Now, I can't call it a band because it isn't a band. It technically is a band because they have to play together, but it's not even what I call a super group, because super groups tend to tour, or they tend to be one or two. This is beyond that. This is Empires of Eden. It's a project. I think the word project is more of the correct term, with assistance from members from Transcendent. I can't read my own handwriting. One moment, fellas. Transcending Morality and Crimson Fire. I'm sorry, I scored that quickly, as I do. So featuring members from Dungeon and Vanishing Point and Cerberus and a few other bands, and it's quite astounding how Stu, because he's such a talented guitarist, and after talking to him, such a nice guy and so passionate, how he can pull all these different bands together. Members of bands together, I should say, but still, I think, talent, enthusiasm, love, and the ability to, which is really difficult for some musicians, the ability to let other musicians take control, and I think that's really what makes Stu one of Australia's leading metal artists, truly. Because when we get to the album and I start talking about the album next, you're going to find out that. Because such big names. I mean, on the early albums of Empires of Eden, he's worked with Udo Duckenschneider from UFO. He's worked with Mike Dino from Riot. You've got Zach Stevens from Sabotage. You've got one of my favorite metal singers of all time. One of the reasons that I actually ever wanted to start doing a podcast was I was sitting on the bus with a lot of things, of course, but when I started my Facebook page years ago, Grim Reaper was the first thing I posted, and Steve Grimmett, who according to the video and the chat with Stu, they became really good friends. Unfortunately passed away 2 years ago, but what a voice. To get him on is just amazing, really, really. And then Mike Visaria, if I'm saying that wrong, who's played with many people, including Yngwie Malmsteen. It's not Jay Malmsteen anymore, isn't it? It's Yngwie Malmsteen. Obsession and all sorts of stuff. It's just fabulous. Fabulous. And then Gunn Arvidsson, from the guitarist, used to have a guitar website. Now he does a guitar magazine. He writes for them. And I'm butchering these names. I do apologize. But that's the stuff he was dealing with the first albums, the first Empires of Eden albums. There's a few of them. And every single album had a big name on it, okay? Or many big names. So when we come back on the other side, I'm going to talk about what this next album is about and what Empires of Eden, I think, actually really means. So please don't go away. Don't leave me now. Do come back after the break, because I think you're going to really enjoy what I've got to say about this brilliant, brilliant project. Bye for now.
Ryan Reynolds here for, I guess, my 100th Mint commercial. No, don't. I mean, honestly, when I started this, I thought I only have to do like 4 of these. I mean, it's unlimited premium wireless for $15 a month. How are there still people paying 2 or 3 times that much? I'm sorry, I shouldn't be victim blaming here. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch. Whenever you're ready.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes. See details.
My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. You chose to hit play on this podcast today. Smart choice. Make another smart choice with Auto Quote Explorer to compare rates from multiple car insurance companies all at once. Try it at progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy.
Weight loss. It needs to be fast and sustainable. Noom GLP-1 starts at just $149 and ships to your door in 7 days. Take it from Lauren, who lost 22 pounds on Noom.
If I come off of the GLP-1, it's not going to automatically make my weight yo-yo back.
$149 GLP-1s? Now that's Noom smart. Get started at Noom.com. Real Noom user compensated to provide their story. Individual results may vary. Not all customers will medically qualify for prescription medications. Compounded medications are not reviewed by the FDA for safety, efficacy, or quality.
Welcome back to part 2, this chat about Stu Marshall's Empire of Eden. So, I said at the end of the first half, I want to talk about what it means. I think it means. It's a really apt name, Empire of Eden, because all the people that Stu draws together for his projects, he was telling me, and he told me on the interview, and you should watch the interview, but he was saying that he gives full reign, as I said, if a singer or a guitarist or a drummer or a bass player wants to do a particular thing and sends it in, they can do it. He just lets them and trusts them. And that is a really big badge of honor on his chest, because that trust is something that makes this album and all the previous Empire of Eden albums very, very interesting indeed. Because you hear it when it's recorded. And Empire of Eden, so imagine this, empire, what's the definition of an empire, right? It's a mass of people together under one flag, right? Well, all these people that he's brought together are under one banner, yes. And Eden is a place. I mean, I'm not Christian, so the Bible, it says it's a place of where Adam and Eve were. It's serenity. It's the birth of humanity. It's the place of everything green and wonderful and lush and beautiful, and that's exactly what this is. So imagine it, empires of beauty, right? Under the flag of beauty, you could call it. It's really very apt name. I don't think you could have come up with a better name if you tried, really, because we live in Australia here. Well, I do. Listeners all over the world obviously don't, but we live in Australia here, and it is a very remote musical scene. You have to picture this, overseas listeners. You might think you're really remote in your little town in Idaho, or in your your little town in Canada or somewhere, wherever, but you're not as remote as you may think you are. Here as a land mass, we all live down one part of it, really, on the edges, and so getting from one place to another is really tricky. And before the internet and before the wonderful world of digital music, it was much, much more harder to create a scene. The scenes were very insular and in little pockets, right? And so even though that's not the case anymore, this country has that mentality deep within its DNA. And so you create music that's unlike anything else, or you create it solely, as in the case of Stu, in my opinion, and people like him. They're creating it for them, because they want to hear what they cannot hear readily. They want to play what they haven't heard. They want to take their unique sound, their fingerprint, their DNA, their blood, sweat and tears, their painful art. All art is painful, whether you like it or not. This is difficult sometimes for me, you wouldn't believe it, but it's true. To take that and then bare your soul on 47 minutes of whatever format you choose to listen it on, okay? Not just that, but you've got to manage it over here. Small bands, you've got to promote it. You've got to do all the legwork. You don't just go up to a label and go, here, like the old days where they would just give you the money and then do the work. You had to pay them back, but they did the work. Yeah. As I said to you before last week about Alarum, very similar thing here with Empire of Eden and Stu Marshall. Production is the member of the band that is not mentioned. I just talked to Project Ultimate Satan, the Canberra band, for recently, and I was talking to them that production is that member of the band is not mentioned, and it's the same here. And we'll talk about that in a minute. But that's another thing, because you have to do it yourself, or you can't. We haven't got endless pockets. We have to work our own lives around, and as musicians and as creators, we only 1% of us are lucky enough to be in that position, and so you do what you can. You learn as you go, and Stu's learned because he is a, and don't want to take this, there's no way bad ways to when I say this, but like an idiot savant, you know what I mean? Like he sucks in that information and he retains it, and then he pushes it out, and it comes across in his orchestration on this album. It comes across in the pure balls he has to make this album. And as he said, you know, you can't, unless you ask, you're not going to find out. And that's a really, really good, mantra to have. I have asked so many people to come on this show. Now, a lot of people just don't ignore and don't even respond, and that's fine. And others, they do, and they're looking forward to it, and that will happen in the new year. Some of the ones you really, really want to come on hadn't responded to you, and it does sort of, it can break your soul slightly, because I'm not a superstar podcaster. I don't have, like, I've said this before, but it's I've been around a long time in this scene, and or long enough for me, and I feel that I sort of came in when it became really, really popular, and then all the actors and musicians have shows now because of COVID, and so people aren't often listening to their product because of what they're talking about, is because who they are, and I find that quite annoying. But that's aside. This is exactly what I mean, but it does roll serendipitously into the thing with Stu. Say that people aren't going to Stu's music because who he is, because the people around this world may not know who he is, but they will know, they will listen to his music because it's bloody good content. And so when they go to listen to it, they get drawn in by the names on this album, and there are some cracking names on this album. But then you realise it's not just the names on this album. That's why I don't consider this a super group. I consider this almost, it reminds me of the old punk ethos of the Collective, you know, like Crass and all the Sun studio records. Well, you know, those sort of early 80s where they just got together to make music because they had a thing to say and they wanted to create art. And it was, yeah, like commune almost. I mean, hippie-ish maybe, and you know me, I'm not a hippie in any shape or form. You might shake a finger at me and say, yeah, but you listen to prog, and I say, yes, I do. And I'll openly admit to that. But you can listen to acid house music, doesn't mean you're taking acid, does it? Eh? You can listen to, I don't know, to any of those. You could listen to blues, doesn't mean you're, you know, a depressed, cigar smoking, Texan, does it? It just means that you like the sound that it produces. Yeah. Anyway, belly aching over. So they've produced a few albums, as I said. Channeling the Infinite in 2012, Architect of Hope in 2016, Guardians of Time in 2024, just came out recently on November the 15th. And I have probably missed one somewhere. I know I have. I do apologise, Stu. I'm going to read out the names of this album. So this album is a power metal album. That's the genre. I haven't mentioned the genre before because I don't think it makes any fucking difference, to be brutally honest. It is an album that defies genre. I've seen reviews for albums, and for this album where they said, oh, it's a power metal album. I, along with Stu, when I chatted to him, I don't believe it sits in any of the of those categories. Any category. Yes, it has moments. It has moments where it's really thrashy, because Stu comes from a thrash metal background. You know, it has power moments. It has beautiful, ginormous, is that a word? Gigantic orchestral space. It's, as I said, it's like walking through an RPG. I don't play RPG games. I don't game at all, really. But when I used to play them, you know, the feel that it's an endless journey. It's that journey you feel when you first read, if you very first read Lord of the Rings. Some of those parts of that book where it just seems like it will be endless space of which to travel in. Yeah, that's what it feels like to me. It's what I get from wonderful pieces of classical music, which I do enjoy, where the music is once intimate, but at the same time vast and unknowing. And you get that with this album, right from the beginning right to the end. And there's something for everyone. I don't think you will skip a single track on this album. I think you will put it on whether you like clean vocals, or whether you like pyrotechnic guitars, whether you like well-produced music, because some people out there don't, I know. But if you don't or not, you're going to still love this, because you're going to get something from it. Even those that are out there who like their really, I'd say fans of bands like Animals as Leaders and people like that would love this, because the orchestration on it isn't sometimes a par with some of their stuff, and that is really big cool. Now here are the big names. Listen to this. Sit back, buckle in, okay? You've got John Gallagher, the John Gallagher, playing bass. Raven, from Raven, the John Gallagher, one of my all-time heroes. Saw them here at the basement in Canberra a few years ago, and it blew my mind. I gave him a quick handshake as he went out to his van to get his guitars. It was something of I won't forget it. It was just wonderful to see. Rob Rock from Avantasia, Warrior, Driver, Angelica, Joshua, and Impilorati on vocals. Darren Smith on vocals, and Jake Lee's Red Dragon Cartel. What a great name for a band that is. Brilliant. And then here's a big one. Mike Lepon from Symphony X on bass. I've always enjoyed Symphony X. I know you listeners would do as well. And you got Jonas, and I'm going to really badly read his name, Heidegert from Dragonland on vocals. Well, these are all on different songs in the album, by the way. We'll talk about that. You got Tony Trujillo, ex-Liege Lord, on guitar. Woo! You got Danny Friedman from Pink Cream 69 on vocals. You got Sean Peck from Cage and Warrior on vocals. You got a member. This particular person has done a lot with Stu over the years. It's Laurie Gordivensky. I'm going to completely butcher that name. I do apologise. Let's just say Louis of Night Legion on Vox. Jeff Martin of Racer X. Amazing. And then right in the bonus track here, you've got Genevieve Rhoda from Temptress. I took them only a few months ago. I'll put the link to that show in the notes. On vocals, and Anthony Fox from Temptress on guitar. And Clay T from Arkenstone is also playing on there as well. It's quite a incredible. There's also for me. There's also you've got. Let me just find it. You've got Aaron Addy of Elm Street on the bonus track. I love Elm Street. Saw them 3 or 4 years ago here in Canberra with the Witch Goal album launch, and they were, along with my friend's band Pure Envy, sadly no longer around. They also the lead guitarist also wrote my music for my opening and closing music for my show. So I always think highly of him. But yes. So crazy lineup of musicians, and of course, but also Stewie also played guitars and bass on all but tracks 2, 3, and 11. Drums on all but tracks 3 and 11. He did all the orchestral parts. It was mixed by Chris D'Amelio at, what was it, Flamenco? I'm terrible with names. Oh my god. Flamenco at Monolith Studios. Cover art was done by Alex Yarbrough. It was mixed and produced by Stu and Louis, and mixed by Stu and Clay T and Famigio. So it's really quite a beautiful co-production of all those talents. Let's crack on with the album itself. It opens up with Dawn March, which is only a minute or so long, but it aptly really does give the listener an absolute pointed direction of where this album is going. It's orchestral, as I mentioned before, big spaces in the sound. I don't know how he did it. The guitar is obviously, I think, is Stu. It's crisp, it's apt, it's clever, it's fast yet not, insanely fast. It's just enough to bring the atmosphere of the album into sharp reflection. It's got it sounds like orchestral voices in the back. It's got soft vocals, angelic kind of vocals, harmonies. It's just a lovely way, and I really appreciate bands. A lot of bands are doing this now, opening with instrumental. I find it's very much an Australian thing, maybe, I don't know. Recently, the last two albums I've listened to is the Alarum album, and this one did that same thing, and I really like it. I like the way that it brings you into the album. It's not just straight away into, let's make a hit. This is art. This is the first brushstroke on the canvas, in my opinion. It lays down that foundation of where the picture's going to go, and I think this is very much that case. And then we move into the title track, Guardians of Time. There's John Gallagher and Rob Rock on it. Okay. This is a rip-roaring, sing-along, vocal, I don't know, I don't describe it. I can't think of any more superlatives, but it is that. It's just a rip-roaring, big, anthemaic, big sound. Really, really wonderful sound. Sorry, guys, I had to pause. The gardener next door was being really loud. So anyway, it's very power metal-y, this track. Okay, it for the lovers of big operatic vocal lines, clean, crisp, beautiful drumming, and some very orchestrated and attacking yet not overly attacking guitar. You're going to love this. It moves, it sways, it goes in, it goes out. It has those really soaring pieces, and it dives down into something softer. And Rob's voice here is something very special, because when he hits that note, and there is a few notes there that remind me a bit of Rob Halford, it really is something I wish I could do, to be honest with you. It's just something so delicious, and so what's wonderful about this project, yeah. And lyrically, it's not breaking ground lyrically. Okay, it's not going to make you sit down and write an essay on its lyric, right? What it's going to do is going to tell you a story. It's going to drive you along in the song, and it's perfectly phrased by Rob. It's just really good breath. It is a stunning opener and a good title track. One of my favorites on the album, actually. And then we move to When Will It End with Darren Smith and Mike LePond. All right. This is a groove-laden, thrash-esque kind of music, completely different sound almost to the Guardians of Time and to Dawn March. Yeah, it links. Again, Darren's vocals are fantastic. Clay's drums are brilliant. Mike LePond's bass is driving, and of course Stu's guitar is chef's kiss. It's a throwback to, for me, and that's not a negative thing when I say that. It's a throwback to me to how heavy metal used to be. This song, it's got groove, yeah. It's got rhythm. It's got brilliant syncopation. You know, great vocals. The breathing again on this song is just something special. And what's great about that is that it's something that I crave. A lot of the time, look, I love experimental. I love heavier, darker. You know me. You've listened to the show long enough. It's not something that or new listeners will know that if you don't know this about me, but I like all sorts of stuff. But there is a large place in my heart and in my soul for traditional heavy metal and early thrash. Or it reminds me of that. Now, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Stu will tell me differently, but I feel it's what it sounds like to me. And this is all about interpretation. Art isn't. When you interpret art, it's how you see it, and this is how I see it. It's a fantastic piece of groove-laden rock and roll. Really, when it comes down to it, it is rock and roll at its very best. That's what all heavy metal is really at its core, is it not? You know, it's all blues, it's all rock and roll. And the beauty again with Stu's guitar is that he's not locked into that. He dances a really nice tightrope, if that's an image, where he plays, you know, ultra fast technical, sort of Vide-esque kind of guitar pieces, but then he also dive into, you know, this sort of soulful Gary Moore, digging into that blues sound in such a way that it keeps you, it keeps the track from getting boring. Okay, and that's the case on all of this album, actually, everything he plays on, and that's including his dungeon stuff, everything. It's not just here. Okay, why he's not a more internationally, like a big name in the guitar world, beggars my belief, to be honest. So I'm just going to have some tea. And then we go on to Metal Rights. Mortal Rights. I said Metal Rights, didn't I? I'm so sorry, Stu. It's Mortal Rights. I apologise. I would go back and edit it, but I don't want to do that. It's Mortal Rights. I don't know why. Again, now it has Jonas Hydert on it and Tony Trudeau. What to say about Mortal Rights? I'll tell you what it will say is, Tony, you need to write more like a human being and not from a man from Mars. Strap in, guys. Now, you thought the previous track was quite thrashy. Well, I did. This one is right out of the Slayer book of hell bent madness. It honestly, the guitaring on here, Tony's guitaring on here is a Floyd Rose lover's wet dream. There are dives, there are squeals, there are pinch harmonics, there are enough palm muted aggression and speed to keep any of you speed nuts particularly enthralled. And the vocals are Jonas. Yep, they don't disappoint. A lot of time in that early thrash scene, some of those vocals, and I love Slayer very, very much, but some of the early Slayer stuff, because they were going for extremity and brutality, a lot of time the vocal would get a little bit lost behind the nightmare swirl of Kerry King and so on, and the brutality of Lombardo and things like that. So, but this one rides that balance. It rides that balance. It gives you the extremity. It gives you the feel of being 16 again. And I went to see Slayer at the on their Reign of Blood tour. I was very young. You know, that kind of thing. That's that breakneck speed madness with complete and utter anger and but without being horribly aggressive. Yeah, it's a very good example of the thrash art. It really is. It's actually it's such a nice thing to come across because it leads you in slowly, right? You go Dawn March, Guardians of the power metal album, right? Okay, I'm not sure if I like power metal, but I'm going to play it anyway. This is not me. I love power metal, but you know, I'm not sure. And then it leads into when will it end? And you think, okay, this is getting thrashier. It's getting heavier, traditional heavy metal. Bang, metal rights. And this is what happens when you have a collaboration between lots of musicians who are told by Stu, do what you want. Bring to me what you want to play. I just want to give it to the world. I want to facilitate this, but at the same time play with my heroes and my peers. And that's what you get with this. And yeah, you cannot stand still on this album. For someone to review this album and say it's just another power metal album is they either haven't listened to the album or they don't understand what Stu is trying to do with this project. You know, he's there's a couple of bands out there that do this kind of same thing. I know there are, but not to this kind of, I don't know, to this kind of quality. Anyway, from then we move to The Inner Me with Dave Redman. Okay, The Inner Me with Dave Redman. Here, I feel we get some speed metal coming in. Dave Redman's voice is from Pink Cream 69. I have to say, I not know much about Pink Cream 69. I'm going to have to look into that more because his voice is brilliant. And this is one of the tracks on the album where I talked about that orchestrated sound, that big sound, that open world roaming around, finding something new every time you listen to it kind of sound. And Stu's guitar on this, he might not realize it, but for me, it has a real sense of a proggy feel in the guitar, but it also sounds like it could have come off. And this is a big compliment. I said this last week about Alarum, but the solo to me sounds a bit like something from the Aliens Weapons. Sorry, the Steve Vai album. Okay. Passion and Warfare, that's what I meant to say. And that's a bit cool because I'm a huge Steve Vai fan. So that clean note, the way he's produced the guitar in this is something to behold, because it's, as a guitar person myself who loves and will listen in on, I'm a bass player, but I do love listening to guitar. And hearing that thing, you know, speeding away in the background, not overtaking the song, not being, hey, look, look at my guitar, I'm center forward, I'm going to make the you look at me all night. And no, he doesn't do that. He promotes the song and its movement and passion without overstating himself across the sound. And this is a speed metal sound for me. I know, and it has power metal feel, but I feel it's a speed metal sound. So again, I told you, you cannot put this in any category. And I'd actually say it's probably one of my favorite guitar pieces on the album. Along with Mortal Rights, this is one of my favorite guitar pieces on the album because I hear something different every time I listen to it. And as I said, it's understated without completely overtaking. The solo's great, the rhythm's brilliant, the way he draws the song along without being in your face, brilliant. Okay, absolutely brilliant. And then we move on to When the Beast Comes Out. Okay, now this one, when I first heard it, was my favorite track on the album. Of course, every time I listen to an album, things will change, and it may go that way. It's still in one of my favourite album songs on the album. It's actually one of my favourite titles. I love that title, When the Beast Comes Out. And Sean Peck on it is just, again, chef's kiss for me. Like, and it's a beautiful, beautiful halfway track on this album. If you love Judas Priest and you love early Judas Priest with that stompingly brilliant drum going off in the background, that fantastic fast staccato drum, that I don't know how Stewie's doing this as well. The rhythm guitar on this is just and then a voice, and I know that this is not a cover, and you shouldn't really say people sound like someone because it's unfair. They do sound like themselves. It's a bit of a faux pas as a reviewer to just say he sounds like Rob Halford, but he really does have Rob Halford vibes. Sean, he really, really does, and I'm sure he'll admit to that. It just sounds like it's come straight screaming off of a track left that wasn't put on British Steel. Now, you're going to look at me, you're going to probably point fingers at me and go, what do you mean, British Steel, hallowed turf? Don't say things like that. No, it really does. It has that grimy, dirty Midlands of the UK. If you've ever been there, people that live there will know what I'm talking about. It's not, it's, you know, it can be, it's where heavy metal started, right? It's grimy, it's industrial. It also almost has a doom-esque feel to it and an industrial feel to it. That's why I really loved it when I first heard it, because it does remind me of something off of, even of Painkiller. It could be off of, you know, it's got that modern yet old sound of metal. It's something that really just, you know, grabs you. And the drumming on it, and I think this could be, I could be wrong, this could be Stu on the drums, but just, you know, again, not, the mix is done in such a way, as I said, the production and the mixing is the other member of the band. You're not going and saying, please give me your vocals and your lyric, and then I'm just going to play over the top of you and you'll be insignificant. It's more like, please give me your vocals and your lyrics, and then I will add in stuff to complement that in the best way I know how. And the orchestration, I reckon this album could be released as an instrumental, and you'd still enjoy it from note one to the final ring out of the last note of the album, because it's so beautifully orchestrated, And then we go to Arabian Nights. This is just says, when I looked up who this was recorded by, it says who's on it, just Empires of Eden. So it must be just a mixture of all sorts of people. Please don't come at me if I've got that wrong. It's just what the notes I have, the show notes I was given, the album notes I was given. I'll have a quick look. Let me just double check again and make sure I wasn't doing that wrong. No, as I thought, this is all, I think, Stu's work. It's a beautiful instrumental piece that runs for just over 3 minutes. Opens up with a clattering drum, like you're being kicked down some stairs. And then it does, it says on the tin, it has this sort of Arabic, you know, the way that Maiden does that so well with their some of their soundscapes that remind you of places like Egypt and Power Slave and things like that. He's doing the same here. He's got a real kind of Middle Eastern feel. It doesn't hang around. 3 minutes, it really does pull you in. It's a lovely, lovely guitar piece. It's almost nightmarish in its the way that it sprawls, the guitar sprawls through the track. It's an amazing sweep picking. You can hear it. It's very, very clinical and very, very beautifully recorded. I can't imagine that must have taken take after take to get that such accuracy in the studio. But it's a really lovely, fluid, and again, it's a nice break for Stu to show off his chops and to play something he's probably got, you know, he's always got songs to play, he was telling me, so like stuff to go on albums. So it's nice that he could put something that he clearly loves to play, because he would not put that on the album. This album is not doesn't have any filler, it's all killer. So for that to go on there is obviously he must love it, and I love listening to it because it sort of sits in with the opening instrumental piece as well, and it gives him a time to show off. And why not? You've got that much talent, you should be showing off. And then we get Stand United. Now I knew I would miss bits because there's so much on this. There's so many people on this album. Tony Webster from Archetype is the vocalist on this one. This one is right in that power metal ballpark. You know, toweringly beautiful vocals, and Tony's got a great voice. You know, it's got that ascending notes that go from, you know, like low to really high, operatic, to really take you on that soaring power journey. And it's very technical, as all good power metal is, and it's beautifully done. And again, the guitars, the drums, the bass, everything. More so for me, the orchestration. I fell in love with the orchestration of this album, and it's something that a lot of music listeners don't think about. You don't think about the orchestration of an album. You listen to it on, you go, that's really good. I enjoyed that, which is what you want it, you know. But it's also good to then suddenly think to yourself, it is such a big soundscape. It's not restrictive. It's not tied down. It's open. It's very, very, very enthralling is the right word, because you don't quite know where you're going. It has a fantasy, like all power metal, a fantasy feel lyrically a lot of the time, but it doesn't stereotype itself. And I think that's where this album is going to be above all the rest. In fact, even I think still, in my mind, the best of all of the Empire of Eden albums. I know that Stu was talking to me and saying that he'd like to get them he's going to look at mixing them or reproducing that, you know, like put them back out again in a way he wanted them out, because now he knows more. And I'm really hoping that happens and that comes through soon. But I love them anyway. But this one, again, fantastic. And so, you know, you get your classic power metal track after your classic heavy metal track with the beast that comes out after Arabian Night. Sorry, after the nice piece of instrumental beauty. And then we get August Run Red. Okay, guys, enter Louis on this vocals, and August runs red. And I have to say, the best bass part on the album, and that is down to Stu, and it is funky. This is a real toe tapper, headbanger, body mover. This one, if I was going to release off a single off the album, and it was me, it'd be August Runs Red. The vocal on it is fantastic, and the movement through it, particularly through that bass line, is so groovy. It has a real 80s vibe, but with that sort of clinical sound that the 90s brought to bass. You know, it's not fumbled, it's not brooding, it's quite clipped. It looks, to me, it sounds like it's quite a gain on it, and it just it hits those meters and those marks and drives you into the song, which is again a great song. I mean, there's nothing on here that I can say that's bad about it, really. But I love Louis' voice, absolutely love it. Ex Liege Lord, wonderful. But that opening bass, and then the guitar pieces on it. Yeah, really, really, I didn't hear that coming. The first time I heard this album, I didn't expect to hear that kind of opening, and it made me sort of double take. I had to re-listen to the song, and I listened to it about 2 or 3 times in a row. The speed in this song, the way that Louis can go from high operatic to like speed thrash-esque vocals is one. There's a reason why that Stu works him a lot. It is, and yeah, one of my favorite singers. So really, really, I'm not reviewing this album. I just want to say really good things about it. There's nothing I feel, you sit there sometimes as a reviewer, listeners, and it's like, should I say things negative? Should I say things that, no, because I don't believe there's any on here I dislike, Okay, got to move on because we're getting close to the hour mark. Then we get Baptize This Hell. Again, this is Louis on it, and I actually prefer both. There's 2 versions on the. If you buy the vinyl, it doesn't have the special extra edition on it. The CD does, and the download does. But this is, I think, Stu would say one of his favorite tracks on the album. I would say, but it comes across in it actually. It's very, very sing along, and when I first heard it, I thought, hang on, what? Because it sounds a bit like some of the Bruce Dickinson solo stuff, his early solo stuff off of Tattooed Millionaire particularly. It's really fun. It's got a addictive rhythm. The vocal, I mean, Louis' vocal here is probably the best on the whole album. Like it's, yeah, it's just fun. And I think if you're gonna review it in one word, it'd be big red letters and it would say fun. It's orchestrated beautifully. The harmonies lay in the background. The layers in this album are something to behold. The layers are just so layered. It's like an onion, It's really layered. It's yeah. There's not much more I can really say about this, but I love both versions of this track. If you're listening onto Spotify or you're buying the digital version, they do a second track, a bonus track of this. Same track with Aaron Addy on guitar from Elm Street. As I said, Genevieve Rhoda on vocals, Anthony Fox on guitar from Temptress, and Genevieve Rhoda from Temptress, and also, and I didn't mention this before because, again, I didn't squeeze it on the bit of paper, but you've got Danny Cicati from Wicked Smile on the bonus track here. You've got John Gio Cavallari from Black Majesty. I love Black Majesty. On the alternative version as well. It's just jam-packed. The alternative version is jam-packed. It's well worth getting the CD or streaming it just for that version, because it's everything that the original track is and more. It is layered. It is orchestrated. It is wide soundscape. It is very close to being my favorite track on the album. Very, very close, and that might change. I think if it was me that produced this album, this would be my favorite, because I like the way that all those people have performed on that particular track, because it really does come across that way. It's a sort of track that you want to hear extra of. It's really, really amazing. So please do listen to the original one, obviously, and then get to the end of the album. After the Devil's Own Friend, there's Jeff Martin and Mike LePond on it, and Clay T on drums. Once you've heard that, then listen to the bonus, and you will just I'm glad it was put. I'm really, really glad it was put on the album. We end the album, as I said, with The Devil's Own Friend. This is one fantastic, groove-laden, traditional heavy metal sound. As I said before, right at the beginning of this long episode, you cannot put this album in any particular category. It's completely impossible. But you can categorize within the album. And this here is a real Dio-esque Black Sabbath, Deep Purple, you know, early groove-ridden blues kind of rhythm beat. It's got, and I love Jeff. I love Jeff Martin from Racer X. I've always loved his voice, and it really has this kind of slow down, and we're taking you out the album. We're taking you out this way because this is how it should end. And it's so groovy. It's so funky. It's so tight. It's probably the tightest, smallest sounding track on the album. When I say smallest sounding, I mean it is not as widely soundscaped. And I really like that because it's bringing you back to the start again. You know, you went on this wild and crazy journey through all these different forms of music, metal and lyric and orchestration and harmony and guitar solos and bass and drum, and then you come back to this tight, old-fashioned rock and roll piece of music, and it finishes the album, the traditional album, not talking about the bonus, but the traditional album, finishes it very, very tightly, so tightly that it's quite a special ending. Because sometimes you can fade an album out and it just disappears, or you go out with a bang, and there are people who say go out with a bang, and this is a banger, don't get me wrong, but it's tight and it's groovy, and it'll make you. I was physically swaying when listening to this song the first time, and again this morning when I went through the tracks again to refresh my memory. I actually found my head moving, my toe tapping, and that is what it's all about, folks. That's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. But please do listen to the bonus track with Genevieve Rhoda, Anthony Fox, all those names I mentioned, because this is where Stu gets to show off. This is, I think, his skill as in orchestration, in production, in artist wrangling, if that's a term, in layering, technique, studio mixing. This is where he gets to show off, and it's just wonderful. It's absolutely wonderful, and I'd like that as a B-side. If it wasn't a single, I think it'd go as the old-fashioned B-sides. You remember you used to get when I'm of an age. In fact, I'm the same age as Stu, but I'm of an age that when you used to play singles, buy singles, the B-side was the instrumental version. Yeah, I remember buying Ghostbusters, the Ghostbusters single, whatever it was coming there, but the B-side was, if I remember rightly, was instrumental. I Am Afraid of No Ghost, it was instrumental. Yeah, I've got a load of singles still that are instrumental B-sides. I think that's the band showing off. Although it could be also the band going, can't got nothing to fill it with. Possibly, I don't know. But yeah, brilliant album. It goes 15 out of 10. Even if you're not, and I know this is going over an hour, guys. Sorry, bear with me. Even if you're not into power metal, don't let that stop you. Because this is not really a power metal album. It's an album for everyone. It's a metal album for all tastes. It really is. It has something for you to listen to that you will appreciate. And I just cannot wait to find out what's going to happen next, who he's going to get on next, because this mix, I think, this heady mix, and he's had big names. He said Udo and Steve, and there's all those names, that he's had in his collective. But this one he should be the most proud of, I reckon, because it's very, very fastly becoming my favorite non-categorizable metal album of the year, if there is a category for me. And I'm about to go now for a little walk in the sunshine, and I'm going to play this album again. and I will enjoy every minute of it. And I hope you do as well. So talk to you next week. Please do watch the video with Stu. I'll put in the link because it might be stuff on there that I didn't cover, that he can put across better than me. Any errors I've made, renames and dates and so on, I do apologize in advance. I do my best to squeeze all this into my normal life as well. It's not the easiest of things to squeeze it all together. But bye for now. Thanks for hanging around for this over-hour episode. I can't get him in. I can't get him in under an hour. It's impossible because I've got too much to say, really. Anyway, listen to the album. Buy it for a friend. Buy it on vinyl. Buy it on CD. Download it wherever you can. Let's give some feedback, positive, all positive, to Stu and Empires of Eden and to Australian metal in general, and the health of our music scene here, really. Thanks for listening to the second part of my Australian music journey for the end of the year. Bye for now.
This holiday season, when you can't be there, let 1-800-Flowers.com deliver. At 1-800-Flowers, every gift is crafted with care and designed to make spirits bright. From classic holiday bouquets and unique one-of-a-kind designs to gift bundles you can't find anywhere else, 1-800-Flowers makes it easy to stay connected, no matter the distance. Just a few clicks and your thoughtful gift is on its way. Visit 1-800-Flowers.com/ACAST to deliver joy, beauty, and celebration this holiday season.
Hey, it's Mark Marin from WTF here to let you know that this podcast is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. And I'm sure the reason you're listening to this podcast right now is because you chose it. Well, choose Progressive's Name Your Price tool, and you could find insurance options that fit your budget, so you can pick the best one for your situation. Who doesn't like choice? Try it at Progressive.com. And now, some legal info. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law. Not available in all states.
My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.